The signal from beyond. The bridge of the UES Hyperion hummed with the quiet efficiency of a well-trained crew. Captain Maya Chen stood with her hands clasped behind her back, dark eyes fixed on the vast emptiness of space through the viewscreen. The ship had been on a routine patrol of the Arcturus sector for 3 weeks, monitoring the outer colonies, mapping anomalies, and generally showing the flag in humanity's farthest reach of space. Another thrilling day of absolutely nothing. Lieutenant Kai Okafor muttered from the communication station, stretching his long arms above his head. Chen's lips quirked into a half-smile. "Quiet patrols are good patrols, Lieutenant." "Yes, Mom," Kai replied, returning to his monitoring. "Though I wouldn't mind a little." A sudden burst of static cut through the bridge's ambient noise. Kai's hands flew across his console, his previous complaint forgotten as he focused intently on the incoming transmission. "Captain," he called, his voice shifting from bored to alert in an instant. "I'm picking up something." Chen turned, one eyebrow raised. "Something, Lieutenant." "A signal. Not one of ours. Not like anything in our databases." His fingers danced across the interface. "It's weak, distorted, but definitely artificial." Commander Eliza Reyes, the ship's XO, moved to K station. "Origin." "Working on it," Kai replied, his face illuminated by the blue glow of his screens. "It's coming from. That can't be right." Chen walked over, her boots making no sound on the deck. "Report, Lieutenant." "It's coming from the Nix Void, Captain. Sector 7 Alpha." A hush fell over the bridge. The Nix Void, a vast, mostly unmapped region of space that lay beyond the boundary of Earth's official territory. Few human ships had ventured there, and those that had reported nothing of interest beyond strange gravitational anomalies and sparse, uninhabitable systems. "Put it through," Chen ordered. The bridge speakers crackled to life, filling the air with bursts of static interspersed with sounds unlike anything the crew had heard before. High, melodic tones that seemed to vibrate with emotion, undercut by rhythmic pulses that conveyed urgency even without translation. "Is that speech?" Rise wondered aloud. Dr. Amara Singh, the ship's xenolinguist and cultural specialist, had been summoned to the bridge. Her eyes were wide as she listened. "Yes," she whispered. "Someone's calling for help." Over the next several hours, the crew of the Hyperion worked tirelessly to clean up the signal and decode its meaning. Dr. Singh led the effort, using advanced algorithms and her own intuitive understanding of language patterns to decipher the alien communication. "They call themselves the Lyriani," Singh explained to Captain Chen in the briefing room, where the senior staff had gathered. "Their homeworld, which they name Lyria, is under attack by a species they don't recognize. From what I can piece together, the attackers came without warning 3 standard days ago." The room's holographic display showed a delicate world of pale green oceans and silvery landmasses, now marred by spreading patches of darkness. "And they're broadcasting this distress call to anyone who might hear?" Chen asked. Singh nodded. "To everyone. It seems the Lyriani have been part of some sort of interstellar community for centuries, but..." She hesitated. "But what, Doctor?" Commander Reyes prompted. "But no one is answering." Singh finished, her voice soft with disbelief. "According to the fragments I've been able to translate, they've received acknowledgments from at least 17 different civilizations. All have declined to intervene." Lieutenant Commander Marcus Webb, Hyperion's tactical officer, leaned forward. 17 advanced civilizations, and not one is willing to help." Singh's expression was grim. The Lyriani included some of the responses in their broadcast, hoping, I think, that someone might be shamed into action. "The excuses vary. It's too far away. They can't risk their own people in an unknown conflict. They have non-interference policies." Chen's face revealed nothing, but her voice had a dangerous edge. "They're watching a genocide and doing nothing." "It appears so, Captain," Singh confirmed. Chen rose from her seat, facing the display. "How long would it take us to reach them?" A stunned silence fell over the room. "Captain," Commander Rice began carefully, "I feel obligated to point out that we have strict orders not to venture beyond the Arcturus boundary without authorization." "I'm aware of our orders, Commander. The Nix Void is unexplored territory. We have no idea what's out there, let alone what we'd be walking into at this Lyria." Lieutenant Reed, the chief engineer, cleared his throat. "If we pushed the engines to their limit and used the gravimetric slingshot around the Thetis pulsar, maybe 4 days." Webb shook his head. "If these attackers have technology advanced enough for interstellar travel and warfare, the Hyperion alone wouldn't stand a chance against their fleet." "We don't know that," Chen countered. "And does our response depend on whether we can win?" The room fell silent again. "Send a message to Earth Command," Chen finally ordered. "Include everything we've translated from the Lyriani signal. Request emergency authorization to proceed to Lyria and assess the situation." "Yes, Captain," Kai acknowledged. "It will take approximately 7 hours for our message to reach Earth, and another 7 for their response." "That's 14 hours the Lyriani don't have," Chen said quietly. "Start the calculations for the journey anyway, Lieutenant Reed, just in case." 20 hours later, Captain Chen stood before her assembled crew in the Hyperion's main hangar bay. All 300 personnel were present, their faces solemn as they awaited her words. "Earth Command has denied our request to assist the Lyriani," she began without preamble. A murmur ran through the assembled crew. "Their reasoning is sound. One ship against an unknown enemy force represents an unacceptable risk. We are ordered to continue our patrol and forward all information about the Lyriani to the Diplomatic Corps for further assessment." She let her gaze travel across the faces of her crew. Some looked relieved, others troubled, a few angry. "I have served the United Earth Navy for 22 years, Chen continued. "In that time, I have never disobeyed a direct order." She paused. "Until now." The hangar fell completely silent. "I cannot in good conscience ignore a plea for help when we are capable of responding. I believe that when humanity reached for the stars, we took on the responsibility that comes with that achievement, not just to explore, but to stand for what's right in this vast universe." She squared her shoulders. "I am ordering the Hyperion to proceed to Lyria. This is my decision alone, and the consequences will be mine alone. I am therefore offering every crew member the option to officially register their objection and be relieved of duty until we return to Earth space." For a long moment, nobody moved. Then Commander Reyes stepped forward. "Captain," she said loudly, "as your executive officer, I must be the first to officially state that I will not be registering any objection. I'll be at my station when you need me." "Same here," Lieutenant Webb called out. One by one, then in groups, the crew voiced their support. Not a single person stepped forward to register an objection. Chen felt something tighten in her chest. Pride, determination, and the weight of what they were about to do. "Set course for Lyria," she ordered. "Maximum speed." The journey through the Nix Void proved more challenging than anticipated. Strange energy fields disrupted the Hyperion sensors, and twice they had to drop out of FTL to avoid gravitational shears that threatened to tear the ship apart. On the 4th day, as they approached the Lyriani system, Lieutenant Kai called Captain Chen to the bridge. "The distress signal is getting weaker," he reported, his expression grim. "And I'm picking up something else. Energy signatures consistent with orbital bombardment." "Show me," Chen ordered. The main view screen shifted to display Lyria, a beautiful world of swirling silver green, now scarred with spreading patches of ash and fire. In orbit around the planet, 7 massive vessels hung like predators, periodically firing lances of energy at the surface. "Analysis," Chen demanded. "The attacking ships are approximately 3 times our size," Webb reported. "Energy readings suggest weapons capabilities far beyond our own. Their hull configuration doesn't match anything in our database. Life signs on the planet." Still present, but diminishing rapidly in the areas under attack, reported Lieutenant Dr. Nadia Volkov, the ship's science officer. The Liriani appear to be concentrating in underground shelters, but those won't protect them forever. Chen's mind raced through options, each seemingly worse than the last. The Hyperion was outgunned and outnumbered. A direct confrontation would be suicide. Open a channel to the Liriani, she decided. After several tense minutes of broadcasting on the frequencies the distress signal had used, the view screen flickered to show a face that was distinctly non-human yet hauntingly expressive. The Liriani had luminescent skin that shifted through shades of blue and violet, with large, faceted eyes that reflected light like gemstones. This particular individual appeared injured, with darkened patches on their skin, and what seemed to be exhaustion evident in their posture. "I am Captain Maya Chen of the United Earth ship Hyperion," Chen said clearly. "We received your distress call and have come to offer assistance." The Liriani's eyes widened, and they spoke in a musical language that the ship's computer worked frantically to translate. "You came." The translation appeared as text below the alien's image. "You actually came to help us." "We did," Chen confirmed. "Though I must be honest, we are only one ship, and we are not familiar with your attackers. Our ability to intervene directly is limited." The Liriani's skin pulsed with a soft light. "One ship is more than anyone else sent. The Conclave worlds received our plea. All declined. They said it was not their concern." There was a pause as the alien seemed to gather strength. "You are human. We have heard stories of your kind, but your civilization is not known to the Conclave. We're relatively new to interstellar travel," Chen acknowledged. "Now, what can you tell us about these attackers?" "They call themselves the Cracks. They appeared without warning or provocation. Their demands were simple: surrender our world or be destroyed. The Liriani have never developed weapons of war. We thought the Conclave would protect us." A distant explosion rocked the Liriani's location, sending particles of dust drifting across the screen. "I need to know everything about them," Chen pressed. "Weaknesses, patterns, anything that might help us." As the Liriani shared what little they knew, Chen felt a plan beginning to form. Not one that promised victory, but perhaps one that offered hope. It would require every ounce of human ingenuity, courage, and the one thing that had brought them across the Nyx void in the first place: the unwillingness to stand by while innocents suffered. "Hold on," she told the Liriani leader. "We're coming." The transmission ended, and Chen turned to her crew, determination etched into every line of her face. "Battle stations," she ordered, "and get me engineering. We're going to need to make some modifications to our ship, fast." Standing against the storm, Lieutenant Reed's face was streaked with sweat and engine grease as he explained the modifications to the senior staff in engineering. "It's insane, but it might work," he said, gesturing to the holographic display of the Hyperion. "We've repurposed the gravitational dampeners to create a focused wave that could, theoretically, disrupt their targeting systems." "Theoretically," Commander Reyes echoed, skepticism evident in her tone. "It's the best we got," Reed insisted. "Their ships are running some kind of quantum-locked targeting array. It's why they're so accurate with those bombardment strikes. But quantum systems are notoriously vulnerable to gravitational interference." Captain Chen studied the display. "How close would we need to get?" "Too close," Webb interjected from where he stood by the weapon systems. "Well within their firing range." "And our shields?" Chen asked. "Enhanced as much as possible," Reed replied. "But they won't hold against sustained fire from vessels that size." Dr. Singh, who had been quietly listening, finally spoke up. "What about the Liriani technology? They may not have weapons, but they must have scientific knowledge we could utilize." Chen nodded. "Good thinking, Doctor. Establish communication with their scientific community. See what we can learn." Within hours, the combined efforts of human engineers and Liriani scientists had yielded unexpected possibilities. The Liriani, while pacifistic by nature, were masters of atmospheric manipulation and sonic technologies, designed for healing and environmental control, but adaptable for other purposes. They can modify our shield harmonics, Reed explained excitedly during the next briefing. Make them resonate in a way that could actually reflect the Vcrack's energy weapons back on themselves. Like a mirror? Chen asked. More like an echo chamber, Reed clarified. It won't stop the blasts entirely, but it could reduce their effectiveness by up to 40%. It's still a suicide mission, Webb pointed out, though his tone had shifted from outright opposition to grudging consideration. Chen's reply was calm. I'm open to better options, Lieutenant. None came. On the surface of Lyria, the situation was deteriorating rapidly. The Vcracks had begun landing ground troops, massive, armored beings that moved with mechanical precision through the elegant silver cities of the Liriani. Their purpose was not conquest, but extermination. They left nothing alive in their wake. The Hyperion had managed to remain undetected by keeping station on the far side of Lyria's smallest moon, a barren rock that provided just enough interference to mask their presence from the Vcrack scanners. But time was running out. We need to understand why, Chen said suddenly during a late-night strategy session. Why are the Vcracks doing this? What do they want? Dr. Singh, who had been working closely with the Liriani leadership, looked troubled. According to what I've gathered, the Vcracks are resource hunters. They don't want territory or subjugation. They strip planets of specific elements, particularly those that can power their technologies. But that doesn't explain the genocide, Rice pointed out. If they only want resources, why not just take them? Because Lyria itself is alive, Singh said quietly. Not just in the sense of having life on it, but the planet's core, what the Liriani call the heart, is a unique form of crystalline consciousness. It's what gives the Liriani their connection to their world, their empathic abilities, and it's what the Vcracks want. But extracting it means killing the planet, and by extension, all Liriani. A heavy silence fell over the room. Then we need to protect this heart, Chen decided. Doctor, can the Liriani evacuate some of their population? Singh nodded slowly. They have limited space capability, enough to get perhaps 1/10 of their people off-world, but they would rather die than abandon Lyria completely. I understand, Chen said, and she did. Humanity had nearly lost Earth once, to its own short-sightedness. The fierce determination to protect one's homeworld resonated deeply with her. Then we focus on driving the Vcracks away or, failing that, buying enough time for the Liriani to mount a more substantial evacuation. She turned to Webb. What if we don't try to fight the Vcrack ships head-on? What if we make them fight each other? Webb's eyes narrowed as he caught her meaning. The reflected energy weapons, if we can position ourselves correctly. Exactly, Chen confirmed. Reed, can the modifications be ready in 6 hours? The engineer looked startled but determined. We'll make it happen, Captain. Good, because in 6 hours we're going to introduce ourselves to the Vcracks. The plan was audacious, desperate, and relied on timing that left no room for error. The Hyperion would emerge from behind the moon with its modified shields at full power, deliberately placing itself between 2 of the Vcracks' vessels. When they fired, the shields would reflect a portion of the energy toward the opposing Vcrack ship. Meanwhile, a team led by Commander Reyes would take a shuttle to the surface of Lyria, bringing crucial medical supplies and helping to organize the limited evacuation of the most vulnerable Liriani. This is our one shot, Chen told her crew as they prepared to break cover. The Vcracks don't know we're here, and they don't know what humans are capable of. Let's show them. The Hyperion surged from behind the moon, engines blazing at maximum power. On the bridge, the crew worked with the focused intensity of people who understood the stakes. Vcracks vessels detecting us, Kai reported. They're changing position, diverting from bombardment patterns. Hold course, Chen ordered, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. Time to weapons range. 30 seconds, Webb answered. The two nearest vessels are moving to intercept. Chen watched as the massive Vcrax ships turned toward the Hyperion like predators sensing new prey. They were angular constructions of dark metal, with pulsing red energies visible along their hulls. Incoming transmission, Kai announced, sounding surprised. Put it through, Chen ordered. The view screen flickered to show a being unlike anything the crew had seen before. The Vcrax commander appeared to be a fusion of biological and mechanical components, with a face split by metal implants and eyes that glowed with the same red energy that powered their ships. Unknown vessel, the Vcrax spoke in a voice that sounded like grinding metal. You interfere in matters beyond your understanding. Withdraw or be destroyed. Chen stood, meeting those inhuman eyes without flinching. I am Captain Maya Chen of the United Earth ship Hyperion. We received a distress call from the Liriani people and have come to render assistance. It is you who must withdraw. The Vcrax commander made a sound that might have been laughter. Your vessel is insignificant. Your species is unknown to us. The Liriani are destined for extinction, as are all who stand with them. That remains to be seen, Chen replied evenly. We may be unknown to you, but humanity has faced extinction before and survived. We don't abandon those who ask for our help. Then you will share their fate, the Vcrax commander declared. Your arrogance will be your end. The transmission cut off abruptly. They're charging weapons, Webb reported. Shields to maximum, Chen ordered. Adjust course to optimum reflection angle. All hands brace for impact. The Vcrax fired first, a searing beam of red energy that struck the Hyperion's forward shields. The ship shuddered violently, but the modified shields held, flaring with a brilliant blue light as they absorbed and redirected a portion of the blast toward the second Vcrax vessel. The redirected energy struck the unsuspecting ship along its flank, causing visible damage. Confusion was evident in the Vcrax response. Their second volley was hesitant, uncoordinated. It's working, Reed exclaimed from his engineering station. The shields are holding at 62%. Press the advantage, Chen commanded. Bring us about. Target their weapons systems with everything we've got. The Hyperion's own weaponry was modest compared to the Vcrax arsenal, but precisely targeted. The ship danced between the lumbering Vcrax vessels, using their own power against them while landing strategic blows on vulnerable points. On the surface, Commander Rice's team had reached the main Liriani shelter complex. The aliens greeted the humans with a mixture of awe and desperate gratitude. You fight for us, one elder Liriani said to Rice, its skin pulsing with pale gold light. No one has ever fought for us before. That's what humans do. Rise replied simply as her team distributed medical supplies and helped organize the evacuation of the youngest and most vulnerable Liriani to hidden sanctuary moons deeper in the system. We stand up. Back in orbit, the battle had intensified. 2 of the 7 Vcrax vessels were now seriously damaged, but the Hyperion had not escaped unscathed. The ship had suffered multiple hull breaches, and the modified shields were failing under the constant barrage. Shields at 23% and falling, Webb reported grimly. We can't take much more of this. Chen gripped the arms of her command chair as the ship rocked with another impact. What about the Vcrax? Assessment. Dr. Volkov looked up from her science station. Their command vessel appears to be powering up some kind of energy collection array aimed at the planet's core. They're going for the heart, Chen realized. All power to engines. Get us between that vessel and the planet. Captain, Webb protested. Our shields won't. I know, Chen cut him off. Do it anyway. The Hyperion surged forward, its overtaxed engines screaming in protest as the ship positioned itself directly in the path of the Vcrax command vessel's energy beam. On the bridge, warning klaxons blared as systems began to fail. They're firing, Volkov shouted. The beam struck the Hyperion with devastating force. Shields collapsed instantly, and hull plating began to buckle and melt under the onslaught. Reroute everything to structural integrity, Chen ordered above the noise of failing systems. Hold position. In engineering, Lieutenant Reed worked frantically, his hands flying across emergency controls. There might be another way, he muttered to himself. If we can't reflect it or absorb it. His eyes widened with sudden inspiration. We can channel it. He opened a comm link to the bridge. Captain, we can use the warp core as a conduit, channel their energy through our systems, and release it as a directed pulse. That could rupture the core, Chen countered. Yes, Reed acknowledged. But it might be enough to cripple their command ship. Chen didn't hesitate. Do it. The next minutes were a blur of desperate action. As the Vcrax beam continued to tear through the Hyperion's hull, Reed and his engineering team rerouted power conduits and modified the warp core's containment field to absorb the incoming energy rather than reject it. Ready on your mark, Captain, Reed reported, his voice strained. Chen took one last look at the view screen, where the looming bulk of the Vcrax command ship filled their vision. For Earth, she said quietly. For Lyria. Mark. Reed activated the modified systems. The Hyperion's warp core blazed with unnatural light as it channeled the Vcrax energy, compressing and focusing it until the containment field could barely hold. Then, in a controlled rupture, the ship released the energy back at the Vcrax in a concentrated pulse that struck with the force of a small nova. The effect was immediate and catastrophic. The Vcrax command ship's forward section simply ceased to exist, vaporized by the redirected energy. Secondary explosions cascaded through its massive bulk as systems overloaded and failed. On the Hyperion, the aftermath was nearly as severe. The warp core had shut down to prevent a complete breach, leaving the ship operating on emergency power only. Fires raged through multiple decks, and casualty reports flowed in from all sections. Status of the Vcrax fleet, Chen demanded, wiping blood from a cut on her forehead. The command ship is crippled, Webb reported, his voice filled with disbelief. The remaining vessels are withdrawing. They're actually retreating. A ragged cheer went up from the surviving bridge crew. Chen allowed herself a small smile before turning to more urgent matters. Begin damage control and casualty assessment. Get me a ship-wide status report, she ordered, and open a channel to Commander Reyes on the surface. Reyes's face appeared on the view screen, smudged with dirt but alive. Behind her, Liriani moved purposefully through what appeared to be a massive underground chamber. We felt it from down here, Reyes reported. What happened? We convinced the Vcrax to reconsider their position, Chen replied. Status of the evacuation. Over 3,000 of the most vulnerable Liriani have been moved to the sanctuary moons. The rest, Reyes gestured to the chamber around her. They've brought us to the heart, Captain. They want us to see what we saved. The camera panned to reveal a vast crystalline formation that rose from the floor to the ceiling of the chamber. It pulsed with light that shifted through all colors of the spectrum, each pulse sending ripples of matching light through the assembled Liriani skin. It's beautiful, Chen whispered. The Liriani say it's singing. Reyes added, her voice filled with wonder. Singing about us, about Earth. Chen felt something tighten in her chest. Pride, yes, but also a profound sense of connection. In coming to the aid of the Liriani, humanity had done more than save a species. They had introduced themselves to the galaxy in the most meaningful way possible. 1 month later, the Hyperion limped back into Earth space, its hull scared but intact. Emergency repairs had restored enough functionality for the journey home, though the ship would require extensive reconstruction in space dock. Captain Chen stood in her dress uniform before the United Earth Defense Council, prepared to face the consequences of her disobedience. Behind her sat her senior staff, all equally formal, all equally ready to share in whatever punishment was to come. To her surprise, the council chambers also contained representatives from 17 different alien species, members of the Galactic Conclave who had declined to help the Liriani. They watched the proceedings with expressions that ranged from curiosity to what might have been shame. Captain Maya Chen, began Admiral Haruki, the head of the council. You disobeyed direct orders. You took your ship and crew into unknown space, engaged in combat with a superior alien force, and nearly lost your vessel in the process. His stern expression softened slightly. And in doing so, you saved an entire civilization and introduced humanity to the wider galactic community in a way that has earned us more respect than decades of diplomatic overtures could have achieved. Murmurs ran through the alien representatives. The Liriani have petitioned for Earth to be granted observer status in the conclave, Admiral Haruki continued. An unprecedented honor for a species as new to interstellar travel as ourselves. Furthermore, the Vkraks have withdrawn entirely from the sector and have sent formal notice that they will avoid Earth-controlled space in the future. Chen stood straight, uncertain where this was leading. There will be consequences for your insubordination, Captain, the Admiral stated firmly. But there will also be recognition of what you and your crew accomplished. He looked past Chen to the assembled crew. The Hyperion will be rebuilt, stronger than before. And when it returns to space, it will carry a permanent diplomatic contingent alongside its military crew. Representatives of Earth authorized to speak on our behalf to the species you encounter. He turned back to Chen. That is, if you're willing to accept command of such a mission, Captain. Chen considered the offer, thinking of the Liriani heart and its song about Earth, about the retreat of the Vkrak ships, about the 17 civilizations that had watched and done nothing until humans showed them another way. There are others out there, she said finally. Others like the Liriani, who might need someone to answer when they call. I would be honored to continue that mission, Admiral. As she spoke, she felt the weight of what humanity had begun. Not conquest, not mere exploration, but something rarer and more valuable than the vast darkness between stars. The simple courage to help, to stand, to say you are not alone to those in need.